So, fucked any good watermelons lately?
He is the water mussy.
Water mussy.
I don't know if. No, you know what? I was gonna make that into a very off-color joke, but I don't think that'll be suitable to
You
put
say that,
on
but
the
I think that
air.
there was definitely a color involved in your thought process.
Yeah, it's pink. Pink like vaginas. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. That's it.
Watermelons are pink like vaginas. That's the color.
Oh, I thought it was because they both had rinds.
You might need to see a doctor. So, speaking of having to see a doctor, welcome back to another episode of the Argel Talk podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if
Is this
you,
another episode? Are we counting it as another episode?
I think technically, yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
Okay.
sorry about that,
gotta inflate
everybody.
those numbers.
That's definitely my fault. I fucked around. I found out the recording. I
We weren't gonna try to shame you.
No, I mean you don't have to try. I'm going to do it myself. But
Yeah, that is true. You kind of bring it on yourself.
repeated
I'm gonna
exposure.
ring the bell though.
Repeated
God damn it! Reset the clock.
repeated exposure to the Argel Talk podcast has been shown by the state of California to cause cancer.
That would explain your prodigious ball size.
Yeah, it really would.
Speaking of which, I saw my roommate and I went to go see Jackass Forever last night. And dear Lord, the amount of testicles.
Yeah.
So many balls. I thought of you.
Yeah. The gif of the girl getting all the hot dogs flung in her face, it was that. It just like kiwis.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
It was
about
real.
as hairy.
It was really funny, but man, it makes me wonder how any of these people like procreated.
Well, I'm glad to hear that they still have it.
They definitely still have it. I hope that they stop though, because I do not want to watch another one in 10 years where someone dies.
Yeah.
One finally just breaks a hip getting to the stunt.
Yeah, probably. Ugh, but I did laugh a lot. I only almost vomited once.
Well, that's
I
good.
don't.
I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
Gray, have you
Yeah.
seen that one? What do you think?
I mean, that's pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
Good
I
talk,
concur. I concur.
Oh.
Alright, so have you guys been working on anything this week?
No, I haven't had time. Between work and other social engagements, I've been slammed. So I haven't even gotten any like commission stuff done.
Yeah, be like that sometimes.
It do in fact be like that sometimes. What about you?
I wanted to take a break from painting some Titans for a bit. So, like a fucking animal, I went to painting my Crimson Paladins and all the trim those fuckers have. I don't know why that was the decision I made, but that's the
Yeah, I don't
decision
think
I
that's where
made.
you go if you want to break from painting Titan trim.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, if
know.
anything, that's worse because it's tinier trim.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's less linear inches of trim, but it's tinier.
yeah. So I did that for a little bit, and then worked on building my first word bearers tactical squad using a mix of leftover parts that I had from other stuff, including a couple of Tortuga bodies just mixed into the unit. So they look pretty cool. I'm looking forward to.
They're mixed scaled in the unit.
Mm-hmm. And
That's good.
it's really not that. I mean, it is noticeable, but it's not like you glance at them and like, holy shit, those are so much bigger. Like if you look at them, like yeah, you can tell that they're like a head taller. But like just looking at the units sitting on my desk, it's not like they don't like stick out like sore thumbs or anything like that.
So yeah, I actually
And
think
big
that
guys are just turgid with the power of chaos anyway. They're all swollen up with warp
you
stuff.
just learned that word this week, didn't you?
It's just
Turgid.
such a good word.
It really is. I love the word, but just I've seen you I think I've heard you or seen you put it up like 3 times now.
That is the only scenario in which I've said turgid. I think Chris repeated it a few times because he
Oh,
thought
okay,
it was funny.
maybe that's
I,
definitely
I mean,
possible.
I'm fairly sure that some Black Library author or other at some point described
Oh,
the word bearers as being turgid with chaotic energy or something
and I thought
like
you were
that.
going a different direction with that, but okay, yeah,
I,
you're probably not wrong.
um, but yeah, I also gave a few of them the Phobos pattern bolters,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it's the Phobos ones. It's the Tigress is the Mark IV. Oh no, the Phobos might be the Mark III ones. I think it's the Umbra. It's the Umbra pattern bolters, like Mark VI pattern ones. Um,
Which one is the one with the chain bayonets? Because those are the
I
only
th-
one I care about.
I think that's them. And
Mm,
based
no,
off the
the Umbras, I believe, are the Mark IVs, and yeah, they do have chain bayonets.
I don't know. Wikipedia is a thing that I'm not gonna bother with right now. But uh, I whatever the Mark Six ones are, I put a few of those in. And based on the rumors of different weapons profiles for different combat weapons, I have a mix of them in the unit to cover my bases. So there are some bayonets, there's some chain bayonets, there's some chain swords, and then there's some regular just fucking knives. So
You think regular knives are going to be worth anything? Because it seemed when I read that leak, if I read it correctly, it almost seemed like if you didn't model chainswords on your dudes and took combat blades, you can just go fuck yourself.
well, I imagine that. I mean, the rules as themselves in a vacuum. Yeah, obviously, there's no reason to ever take combat blades, but maybe the combat blades are a free upgrade. Like maybe they don't cost anything, or maybe like a point where the chain swords are like 3 or 4 points, and then the whatever. Like if they're a different point value, then I could see that.
Could be.
Where like world eaters get their free chain axe upgrades. Like it might be something like that.
Or maybe you can still have a combat blade and a pistol where the chain sword is an upgrade for the pistol in some cases.
Yeah,
You know, there's a couple different ways that they could give you a reason why one would be useful over the other one in some circumstances. I mean, but there's no way to know. And I'm like, like most people that I have seen, like there's a lot of weapons that they don't have modeled onto the model because it just makes the model look super busy and like
Oh
cluttered up.
yeah, like can probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen anyone actually put melta bombs on a model.
Yeah,
yeah,
like, because they're big and like that bit just doesn't look good unless it's like unless they're actually holding it. So
yeah.
if
Like
it
I've got an
just
assault squad dude that's like chucking a melt a bomb.
yeah,
Yeah,
but like if
in
it's
which case
just
that's like
on
a choice that you make as far as like modeling, and you're like, I want to make this guy look cool, throw in a melta bomb.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But just having it like bolted on somewhere and it's just kind of dangling as he's running, like no, it just looks bad.
like I think Anvils of Conor, like Jack is one of the only guys I've seen that like religiously WYSIWYGs his models to the point where like he puts like bandoliers and like grenade harnesses and stuff on them and like has, but he also almost exclusively now either, well, now he uses the Tortuga bodies, but before he was one of the guys that I think kind of popularized the like true scaling thing because he does it
Mhm.
better than anybody else. And when he was true scaling his guys, then yeah, he had that extra space to work with to put like pistols and grenades on everybody. Um,
I'm certainly not knocking the people that do it and do it well. I'm just saying, like, you know, certainly not going to stop me from, taking the option in my unit, and I'm not going to care if you take the option and don't have it modeled.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah,
definitely a lot of
there's
effort.
definitely easy enough to just say, yeah, why I didn't model them on there because there's been no real reason to.
Yeah.
I think
And I
that they
mean,
would look worse if I put chain swords just on everyone's shoulder or some shit.
yeah, like I've got a pretty good system where like on the Mark IVs with like the combat blades, I kind of glue it to like the back like the back side of the bottom of their backpacks. So like it's like mag locked there, so it like still looks like they could feasibly like reach back and like draw it, but it's not like in the way of anything else. And like the Mark III kit does a pretty good job of like letting you glue the chain swords like hanging off their belts. It doesn't get in the way too much. But yeah, that's about as far as I'd go. And I mean, in the new edition, if the different combat weapons have different profiles to them, and someone wants to accuse me of modeling for advantage, I'll just my response will be, yeah, abso-fucking-lutely, because have you seen my fucking dice? I need all the help I can get.
It's
That-
true.
There's that sweet B-roll. Make sure to cut that. That's the quote we need.
Like, I mean, that's something else I got up to this week, is got my absolute shit pushed in by Eric with Adeptus Titanicus, and like it wasn't for lack of trying. Like,
Yeah, I'm not some kind of like strategic genius, although I did make some good plays, but it was it was almost like kicking a puppy or punching a kindergartner. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I even asked, I'm like I don't want to be that guy that like blames his losses on his dice, but like, was there anything that you think I did wrong in that game? And they were like, yeah, like you probably should have, moved the warlord up some more and been a little bit more aggressive with him, and like maybe you could have, target prioritized a little bit better. But Eric's like, no, I don't really think there was any like major misplays I saw there. It just kind of just didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
It's just when one warhound tanks like 15 saves or something on what single void shield.
Yeah.
There's just nothing you can do about that.
Well, like, in I think one of the other things was like Eric's dice spiked like every time he needed them to.
And it got real noticeable in like the last two turns.
Like, I think your Warhound charged to my Warbringer and like practically killed it with just smash attacks. Like,
Oh yeah,
bro,
I mean,
like
so
what the
part of that was
fuck?
because it moved 7 inches, so it got 2 extra dice for that. I was playing Impalers, so he got to smash twice
Goddamn.
But then you got like
into the side arc.
you got like 4 or 5 extra attacks each time also.
Oh yeah, I rolled like a 3 and then a 2 for my 2 smash attacks.
So like, all right. Like I think he was one crit off on his legs from dying. So like, almost one shot my Warbringer from like completely undamaged
With a Warhound.
with a Warhound. So like it just
Kicked him right in the dick.
It was just rough. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then like
there was a time your Reaver exploded, did 5 hits to your Warlord and only 1 to my Reaver that killed him.
yeah. And like I was also noticing like all my armor pen rolls, I would either roll ones on things that didn't have ordnance, or I'd roll like 2s and 3s on armor pen. So it's like, okay, so you hit me with your, fucking turbo laser. Okay, there's a 2 and a 3. All right, I got 2 direct hits. I'm like, man, like I finally get through all the bullshit and actually get to hit you with something, and then the fucking armor pen doesn't do anything. Like, god damn it. It was bad. It was
to be better.
Well, like that's the thing. They weren't even the cursed dice I played you with. It was a completely different set.
Now, maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's these like tight losses that Eric has had against other people here lately that have just all manifested into one glorious win in Titanicus.
Maybe.
I mean, it's been like 3 glorious wins in Titanicus at this point.
Well, okay,
Like,
maybe that's just your deal. Maybe Titanicus is just where you dominate.
Yeah, we
or
were like
that, or like my astrological signs are matching up, or some nonsense like that. And in a month's time, I'm gonna be rolling Jake dice.
No,
maybe.
like Jake's the painter. You're the Titanicus guy. I'm apparently the saves guy. And
Grey, what do you think your archetype is?
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good, man.
Yeah, I'd agree. Trucking fucking
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, 100% no trucking, fucking, and he does it well.
God damn it. The Yeah, like Eric's like, maybe you just need to play chess. I'm like, yeah, I paint these Titans up as a fucking kick-ass chess set.
That would actually
Remove all the randomness.
no. You
My
know what? Now
dice
that you
can't
mention
hurt
that,
me if there aren't any dice.
like I could totally like I've got print files for basically all of the Titans. I could like print them at small scale and make a chessboard out of it. That'd be neat as a bitch. Have like knights as the pawns.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
what you said.
this.
Like knights as pawns, War
Cerastus
Master as
maybe
the
is like
queen.
bishops.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe the
Warlord is king.
yeah, maybe the like lancers as the rooks.
Warhounds as knights for
Yeah,
funny irony.
yeah. I actually know lancers is bishops, and then uh rooks be war masters or war bringers. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it could work.
Yeah, got that corridor.
yeah, that'd be
But
pretty sweet.
I've made up a new maniple that also the fact that I was trying my hipster snowflake pick that didn't do like literally anything for me for
Oh yeah,
Legio.
literally the only thing that running Astraman did was give me 2 extra stratagem points.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there was the one time I got to smack your Reaver with my Reaver, and that was it. That's literally all it got to do for me.
Oh yeah, you got to Overwatch.
I got to smack you with my fist on your way in. But yeah, it was bad. So I've revamped. I'm trying something different that fits my play style better, that I'll actually get some use out of, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, the way things are going, my dice are probably gonna fuck me anyway, but still gonna try. Gonna fuck around and find out.
I think you'll do great.
Oh, also, not to continue to talk about hobby stuff for ad infinitum, but my Game Envy exemplar wet palette finally came in, and I've been
Oh,
messing
cool.
with that a little bit. What I like about it so far is I did an experiment. So normally when you have a wet palette, Eric can probably understand me on this one. When you have a wet palette, and if you make like an airtight seal with it, your paint will overhydrate overnight and like become unusable. So like it separates out and over hydrates, and you just can't use it anymore. The Game Envy palette has a little rubber stopper that you can take out that's got a little like vent in it. And I did an experiment with it where I took a brand new dollop of paint, put it on the palette, and then left the vent hole open overnight, and the paint was absolutely still usable the next day. It was thin, but it wasn't like overhydrated and like separated. Like it was still usable.
Right.
It's just if I just like thinned it a little too much. So like it's absolutely still usable for painting, even if it's just like layering or glazing. So that's cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to using this thing more. The paper is really nice for it, so it'll be fun. Just in time for me to take it to Adepticon.
Yeah.
I like how you're paying to go hobby.
I mean, I'm paying to
I know
go
you're going.
learn
You're
to
going to the
hobby
classes. I know.
better,
Hobby best.
and also
Biggest hobby is best hobby.
biggest hobby is best hobby. Uh, well, and also the outside chance of being able to buy the new Heresy box set is not nothing.
No, I would be really surprised, but it's certainly a possibility. My only concern, like I do feel pretty strongly that they will make the announcement, but if they say that it's not going to be due out until next year, I'm going to be kind of pissed.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, the announcement is probably pretty solid. Having anything physical right there to actually pick up, then maybe not as likely.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm saying it's a not 0% chance. It's probably closer to like a 1 or 2% chance.
Yeah, but I could
I've
definitely
taken worse
see them.
odds.
I could definitely, because like when they announced Cabanda, they didn't say anything about the turnaround.
No, I don't think he's gone up for sale yet either. Although they had a pretty quick turnaround on the con, I think. I think the con was LVO, and then he went up for or no, maybe I don't remember. I think the con only had like a month or 6 week turnaround.
Yeah, it wasn't a real long time before pre-orders started, and then he was on pre-order for like a month, if I recall. Because at first I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna, get him," and then I think like in the last 2 days he was up for pre-order. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, but then that's also the con versus Cabanda, and then the con and Cabanda versus a new box set that they want to
Yeah,
start getting people buying like ASAP. So I don't know, but I guess we'll see. I don't know that I actually technically have a ticket to that, but in the past when I've gone to those things, they usually don't care. Like once the thing starts, like they'll have standing space and they'll let you come in and like stand in the back.
with
So
the other peasants.
with the other peasants.
Well, or Jake, at least you've done a bunch of hobby stuff because I, like Ben, have not done anything this week. I'm taking a break after the fucking breakneck pace I've kind of felt like I've been on for the last like 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
So finished up that War Master. I'm coasting for a bit. At some point, hopefully in the near future, I'll have some skeletons to start working on for Warhammer Armor Project. But till then, yeah, I'm just gonna take a break for a bit.
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Take a break, get some games in maybe.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm going to an event, Titanicus event on Sunday at Battlegrounds. Should be pretty fun.
Cool,
There's a
neat.
lot of narrative structure, a lot of like mournable things that aren't representative of the games that I've typically played or that are like, the GW stock standard kind of stuff. So that should be pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be cool. Definitely take pictures and let us know how that event goes.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's just kind of my thing too is that's a pretty average amount of hobby for me, quite honestly. Like uh that's just what I do in the mornings before I go to work. I wake up early with my fiance who's a teacher, and she goes to school early. So I'll just wake up with her and just have a couple hours in the morning to myself to do whatever. And that's when a majority of my painting gets done. And then every now and then I'll have a hobby hangout in the afternoon or the evening. But yeah, just kind of, I'm happy with the turnaround time on my Titanicus stuff. Now I know kind of a little bit more how I want to build my force, so now I kind of have a little bit more direction with it.
Yeah, I think you did like that whole mana pool in the time it took me to do the one War Master.
Yeah,
Those I was astounded with how quickly those got knocked out.
yeah.
And despite like that speed, they turned out really good.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I can paint quick when I put my mind to it. I just gotta uh allow myself to cut some corners. So like, the metals on them are kind of flat and like don't have too much done to them, and they don't have like a bunch of weathering and like tiny little details and stuff. Like they're pretty, they look cool cuz they got the cool like color blends and fades, but there's not really much more intricacy going on there. It's pretty basic. So, it's what happens when you cut corners, kids.
Yeah. All
Um
right, you guys have any picks for the week? Cause I sure do.
go
I
for
do
it.
not.
Yeah, so we got another one of those exemplary battle packs,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think Gray will agree that the stuff that came out of this one are pretty great, don't you think?
I mean, that's pretty cool. I like it. I like it a lot.
I think uh, I think that they are both good additions.
Yeah, so for me specifically, so what came out in this was the long-awaited Emperor's Children Sunkiller squads, which are I think they're mentioned like in book one of an all las canon Emperor's Children heavy support teams, sort of an informal cognomen for those, and now they have like actual rules as in a heavy support unit. and they're pretty good. BS5 with las cannons is pretty good. If they stay still, they ignore cover, which is even better. They can take a dedicated Aegis defense line. But Greg can talk about that more if he wishes to. What I'm here for is the White Scars Karaoghlanlar, which are
God bless you.
basically the White Scars destroyers, um, which we've seen kind of a theme in these exemplary battle packs of Legion specific destroyers. And I think even before these started coming out, they had mentioned in a Warhammer community article that they were going to make a lot of Legion specific destroyers units, which is an interesting choice, but I'm here for it. So these guys are pretty standard stat line for destroyers. I think weapon skill 5 on the sergeant. They come with jump packs. You can't have them without jump packs. They have the Legiones Astartes White Scars, counterattack, Invocation of the Raising Tempest, the Stormseer's Conclave, and the Ritual of Unmaking. It starts at 145 points, 20 points each, up to 10 additional. Here's where it gets fun. So they come with chainsword and bolt pistol, as pretty standard. But any model can exchange that for a charnable saber for 5 points or a power glaive for 10 points. So if you're not familiar with power glaives, you can take them on any sergeant or independent character, and there's something like 25 points normally, or you exchange a power weapon or so. I don't remember the details, but I think it's like 25 points for a power glaive. And they're either strength +1, AP2, two handed, or strength user AP3, not two handed, and you can choose. Like they were good enough that before when they were released in book 6, before book 8 came out and jacked up the points cost a bunch, I was using one of those on my Praetor instead of a Paragon blade. So having those on basically anyone for 10 points is pretty good. I don't think I would give that to everyone because as soon as one guy dies and there's 30 points wasted, but maybe a unit of 15 with 6 or 7 power glaives, I think that's pretty good. And then you can give your sergeant a bunch of other shit, including a pair of lightning claws, which is the route I'm going to go down. So where they get a little more different is the Stormseer's Conclave, which allows them to be taken as a retinue for any librarian with a jump pack. So that's another thing that I've been considering adding to my force for a while is a Stormseer. I haven't done it yet, but now I'm going to do that, and I know I'm going to do that with a jump pack instead of a bike. And Invocation of the Raising Tempest allows them once per game before the movement phase starts. You can give them Fleet and Rage for that one turn. And finally, the weirdest one, probably the most niche, but I think in the coming edition it'll be a lot more useful, is the Ritual of Unmaking. So when a unit made up of models with this special rule makes a sweeping advance, you can choose to automatically fail that. And so if you do that, all enemy units with at least one model within 6 inches after any consolidation moves takes a leadership test, and if they fail, they suffer -1 weapon skill until the end of their next turn. So right now, that doesn't mean a whole lot. It means you'd hit something else on 3s, but normally you would want to, destroy a unit anyway. But from some of the leaks that we've seen, the weapon skill chart is going to change so that anything that is less than your weapon skill is going to hit you on 5s instead, if I remember that correctly. So it's a weird pick. It's one that you aren't going to do every time, but it's not so out of the realm of possibility, I think.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is interesting. I do agree with you that I think that it will. I think now it's kind of an interesting option, and I can see some circumstances where it may be good, but I think it depends entirely on what you just wanted combat against.
Yeah, that too. Because you think like there's an Iron Hands unit. I think it's the Immortals that have a similar rule where instead of sweeping advancing, they make a shooting attack with their bolters.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
I
called gun
can't
them
think
down.
of yeah, and I can't think of any situation where you would rather do that instead of just sweep. But this one, there's possibilities.
Oh, it's the guarantee of being able to fire versus only a percentage chance of winning the initiative roll.
I guess.
Like you're definitely gonna be able to do some damage as opposed to maybe doing none at all.
It's true.
Could be.
Yeah, or like
it's more reliable. That's all.
if you win the combat on their turn, and you're just like, I'm not really so worried about trying to sweep them. Like, let's say, for example, like this exemplary battle, you're fighting some Emperor's Children that have crazy initiative bonuses and stuff like that. Maybe you just let them get away and just like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking shoot them in the back and charge them again next time. And then again with the rumored new rules, maybe you force them to try to use their Overwatch react or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe.
But
But
yeah.
the other neat thing about these guys is if you look, really the only things they have in Book 8 as far as, any sort of color plates for these guys is just a shoulder pad, but that shoulder pad is red. So unlike, most of the other destroyer companies that are all decked out in black, these guys are all in red, which is really cool and something I'm looking forward to painting.
Yeah. I've heard people complain that they look too much like Blood Angels, and I'm like, well, I mean, yeah. like
Oh no, boo hoo. And
like
they've got gold trim instead of red, so yeah, it's like complaining the Iron Hands look too much like the Raven card.
like yeah. I mean, people like if you use too much gold on your Blood Angels, people start to say they look like Thousand Suns. It's like, well, all right, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
the one of 3 red armies I see. Like, all right. I mean, can I
Yeah, I
not?
think it'll definitely make them stand out better on the battlefield too. Like that's
Mhm.
always a good thing. And I think,
Sometimes.
well, I mean, at least from like a visual narrative perspective, the narrative that we're always carefully crafting.
Mhm. Looks like the unit showcase one has the guy with dual lightning claws as the
Yeah, it
sergeant,
does.
a melt-a-gun, a flamer, and then the rest of the guys look like they have charnable sabers, which on destroyers I can't say I'm upset about that choice.
Yeah, there's a couple of different options that I kind of skipped over, but yeah, one of them, for every 5 models in the squad, you can take either a plasma gun, a melt gun, or a flamer. Or another option, you can exchange bolt pistol 1 and 5 for a plasma pistol or a hand flamer. So they've got plenty of options beyond, just a melee unit. Obviously, that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
they're made for, but you can deck them out for you know to do things.
Also, worth pointing out is for every 5 models in the squad, they can do plasma gun, melta gun, flamer, and also a plasma pistol and hand flamer. Like those are 2
Yeah.
different entries. So you could have in a 10-man squad, you could have 2 plasma guns and 2 plasma pistols.
Yes, you could.
So there's that also. Also, I don't know if you touched on this, but it looks like the sergeant, like the Death's Champion, has weapon skill 5.
Yeah, I think I said that.
Okay.
But that also is like 5 is good, five's never bad, and it's only going to get better from what we've seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm into it. Also, I mean, from what we know of, potentially the new psychic phase, having a retinue for a librarian might become much more interesting.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I haven't really pulled the trigger on, just because they're so expensive, especially to run them, in Shigori Brotherhood. When you've got so many things on bikes, you got to buy the bike, you got to buy all the mastery levels. They add up in points a lot quicker then they add up in value. I think, yeah, with potential changes, I think even just with the jump pack, instead of the jet bike, you'll get a little more value out of it, and it won't be such a handicap. Not a handicap, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also going to be a good opportunity for me to cut down some of the bikes in my almost all bike list. You know, maybe even that out a little bit because I've had some comments on it before. None that I particularly care about, but you know, it is one of those things. It is a tough
Mm-hmm.
list, and this will give me something that I feel good about taking and not feeling like I'm just trying to pillow fist myself.
Mm-hmm. Also, I know we're gonna let Greye take a take lead on talking about the Sunkillers, but the the other unit showcase picture is a unit of Sunkillers with plasma cannons.
Yeah,
I
yeah, because
think
they come stock with las cannons, but they have other options they
I,
can take for free.
I
Oh
think
yeah, all of the big guns are for free.
I think the plasma cannon Sunkiller squad is the sleeper pick there. I think that's I think that's real tough. Is plasma cannons that ignore cover. It's not great. It's not great.
I don't know, man. Like las cannons, I feel like would do it even better.
Yeah, because that's going to instant death Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll cut through armor too. Well, I guess plasma does too. Does it? Yeah, it does. But if you believe the rumors, I bet you that the plasma cannon or the plasma profile is going to change on its AP value.
Mm-hmm. I mean, shit. Even the um multi melta, multi melta ignoring cover.
Oh, oh yeah.
Volkite
Just fucking
culverins.
snap fire at a flyer with it and be like, yeah, jink this.
Jink this bitch.
You can jink one, but can you jink 20?
I
Oh
I
yeah,
hope.
because you can have 20 Sun Killers in a squad.
Yeah.
I,
I hope you took armored ceramite on your fire raptor. You fuck.
I do want. I hope that Grey at least one time runs a 20-man las cannon Sunkiller squad just to see what it do.
Just for the
Because
fucking
it's
giggles
like
and
800
fucks.
points.
Yeah.
Let's see, yeah, because it is the yeah, it's 850 points to just stock, and then you're probably gonna put artificer armor on the sergeant.
Probably give it an augury scanner.
Yeah, and I would probably, if you're allowed to, I'd put a apothecary in there.
Yeah, you can.
Hell, if I took a 20-man squad, I'd put a Primus Medicae in there. Like, these motherfuckers are gonna live as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think a Daradeo is an effective deep strike deterrent. Will you have 20 fucking last BS5 last cannons
That ignore cover.
that ignore cover?
Like, you better not drop your fucking Dreadclaw anywhere near this. Go ahead and jink if you
Oh
want.
man, and then do the real Chad move, like ultimate drop pod defense. Put them side to side at 2 inches so that they take up, you know, like 50 inches on the battlefield.
Long table edge. Well, I don't want to step on Gray's toes too much. We'll let him talk about it. So,
No, his
Gray,
feet are fucked up enough.
yeah, his toes don't need any more trauma inflicted on them. So, Gray, go ahead and talk to us about Sunkillers, buddy.
So yeah, pick of the week for me is the Emperor's Children Sunkiller squad. I'll do a quick rundown of them. They're 250 points for 5 guys. They are stock Marines with 1 wound and 1 attack each, other than they have ballistic skill 5. They come with las cannons, bolt pistols, and chain swords, which is actually kind of nice. Because they're going to have that 2 attacks in close combat. They have power armor, but they don't have hardened armor, which is kind of odd for a heavy support squad.
Do those come
Um,
with hardened armor baseline? Because I thought only destroyers like came with it.
Heavy support squads can take hardened armor. The regular Legion heavy support squad.
Oh, yeah,
So I
I
think that's
never
pretty
really use
good.
them.
Yeah. I don't use them a lot either because they're kind of competing against every good unit in Heresy normally. So they don't get a whole lot of use for me, and I don't generally have a rules buff that helps them. So, but we get with these Sunkillers, you get a special rule, which is precision fire and fortified position. Precision fire, um, if the Sunkillers, it's written really goofy. It says an enemy model that suffers a wound, penetrating hit, or glancing hit inflicted by a shooting attack, made by a model with this special rule that has not moved in the preceding movement phase, may not take cover saves. So it's a really goofy, awkward way of writing, but if your Sunkillers are stationary, they ignore cover saves.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed a lot in like Forge World and Heresy rules things in general, where they're like, they'll write like no cover saves allowed or something instead of just the general ignores cover, which is really weird.
Yeah, which is really what they're doing here, is they're ignoring cover saves. And then the second rule is that fortified position, they can take as part of their as part of the unit, they can take a dedicated Aegis defense line. Doesn't use up a fortification spot in your force org. But it counts towards the cost of the armor total, which is kind of a duh. And you can only upgrade it with a single item from the obstacles and battlement from all the different upgrades. You can only do one upgrade.
Which, if you're curious as to what any of that is, hey, we did an episode about that.
Well, look, reach back to like episode 1 or 2, I think.
I want to say it was 5.
It was back there though, definitely. They so yeah, they can actually, you can, for 40 points each, you may add up to 15 more guys, so that could be 20 las cannons. Now you're gonna pay like, at that point, for 40 points each, you're into like 850 points. So that is an enormously expensive thing to do. So you probably won't see that outside of like APOC or 3,000 point plus games. If you have them 10 models or fewer, you can take a Rhino or a Proteus. Now they have a bunch of options here. As far as war gear, you can swap them for free. Volkite, Culverins, plasma cannons, and multi melta. But I think honestly, swapping away from las cannons, the unit becomes not worth it. They lose value. With las cannons, this unit is value. You're hitting on what, 2s, and you're ignoring cover saves. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
For
that
40
and
points,
like
40 points a
just
guy.
the range too on last cannons versus literally any of. Well, Volkite Culverins have pretty long range, but you're not
Yeah,
you're not taking these guys for Volkite.
no. You just take a Volkite squad. It's cheaper. It actually might be cheaper just to take a Volkite squad and add a. If you're taking 10-man squad, it would actually be slightly cheaper just to do a Volkite squad, heavy, and a bare bones master signal. You get basically the same thing. So I don't know that you're getting worth out of that. He has sergeant equipment for the Novator, which is their squad leader. I think other than augury scanner and maybe artificer armor, I think it's a waste. The more I look at it, you have a bunch of las cannons. You're not going to need to. If they're fighting in close combat, you've done something horribly wrong. And with one attack base, you're not going to get a whole lot of worth out of paying for power weapons on these guys. I think they're really cool, and they're a unit that, with Emperor's Children's kind of thin Legion rules as they stand, This is a unit that fills in a gap for the Legion. The Legion is not very good at as far as the Legion rules have nothing to do with taking out vehicles. So most of the Legion special units are very focused on killing infantry. This is a Legion unit that will kill a tank if it touches it.
Oh yeah, you get enough of these guys like, oh, that's a nice fell blade you got over there. Be a shame
Yeah.
if something happened to it.
Exactly. Like right now, I've ordered bits, and I am going to build at least a 10-man squad, and I might build enough guys to give myself the option to go up to 15. They are going to be a huge fire magnet, which is where that Aegis line is going to come in. I think these are a real good unit. They're definitely going to be if you get them big, they're going to be kind of your centerpiece unit for your army. If you get them big, they're going to be your kind of Death Star, which is kind of weird to have a stationary Death Star, but it kind of is what it is.
Yeah, effective though.
Yeah, it's effective. I mean, say you put 20 las cannons behind an Aegis defense line, and it's just like, yep, go screw. You spend that 1,000 points in a 3,000 point game. Got plenty of points to play with and do whatever else you want, but you might do that instead of necessarily taking a Lord of War in a 3,000 point game then, because there are really not any that are going to hold up to 20 las cannon shots. Maybe some of the bigger ones will last a turn or two, but they're gonna get chunks blown off of them. It's gonna happen. So yeah, definitely pick of the week. I really like it. I think the ignoring cover saves is fantastic. On top of being, ballistics a ballistic skill 5, so hitting on 2's las cannon squad. I think they're great.
And
Couldn't have said it better
scene.
myself.
So I know Ben, you said you didn't really have well, I mean, Eric, was there anything else you wanted to say about the new exemplary battle?
I am glad that they're still doing these exemplary battles. Maybe someday I'll actually play one of the battles out of here. I think that's something I was gonna see about doing this weekend, but then I remember that event. But
Yeah.
it's all it's all quality that they're putting out in these, free rules updates, and I like that
Mm-hmm.
as the direction of heresy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. I
agree.
mean, it's like the.
Like we're living the best timeline now, I think.
I think so. I mean, it's like they're updating it. Like, I mean, obviously the times might change with a new edition and all that, but right now, I mean, we're kind of living heresy as a video game here, where there's like monthly free updates and patches, and obviously not patches, but like free new update here. Use this cool new thing. We're just adding into the game for no cost to you. Like, here you go. Here's a new
Yeah,
gun for fucking Call of Duty or whatever the fuck it is.
yeah. Compared to the 40K, which is currently like getting patches of, oh yeah, you were that thing you like. Yeah, we're gonna make it not so good anymore. This
And to
is
make
the
it good
opposite.
again, you're gonna have to buy the new DLC.
Right.
Yeah, I've what little bit I have been keeping up with current edition 40K. Like, I'm not impressed with the way that rules are being brought out, and what's really bad news is, well, yeah, could be construed as bad news, is that it's really putting a bad taste in a lot of the community's mouth, which could potentially be really good for us if if we do in fact get new books
Could
and
be
new
a
edition.
double-edged sword.
I mean, I don't want the edition. I don't want 40K to be bad. Like, I want it to be good, because if it's successful, then it only helps Heresy be more successful. But I don't know. It's not a great time to get in my opinion.
Yeah. So for my pick of the week here, I dropped it into the chat there for us. It is a Blood Angels Ancient by Jonas Whedon, who is like crazy. Like I know Richard Grey's known for his freehand, but I think Jonas Sweden is sleeper freehand pick because he does all these super sick like metal as fuck banners for people. Like I mean, you just scroll through his Instagram, it's just like bangers one and all. But it's a conversion of the Indomitus ancient with a sanguinary guard head, a conversion world blood angel sword, and then a big ass banner with some wings and a jetpack. And the model itself is great. The sword looks fantastic, but the banner is just nuts. I mean it is sanguineous as Saint Michael, like stabbing the shit out of a dragon with a big spear. Like it's metal as fuck, and I'm here for it.
That's pretty neat.
Is really cool. And like what gets me is yeah, I see these things and I'm like, oh, they're using whatever like high level artist paints or whatever that, but guy says in the description, this is painted with Citadel colors. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get those into a state where you could work that level of detail?
And nylon
Because
brushes too. He just used some cheap synthetic brushes from fucking Michaels or whatever. Like this isn't like you don't got to go out and buy a $30 paintbrush to be able to paint like this.
I
Like
mean, a doctor can still remove your appendix with a Swiss Army knife. I mean,
right.
the practice and skill like really means a lot. I mean, the tool is important. The paints, the brushes, all of that really important. But that's not going to make or break you as an artist in this
Mm-hmm.
hobby.
I mean, and like
for sure.
one of the women I'm getting ready to take a class from at Adepticon, Liz Beckley, she did a whole series of paintings with like apple barrel paints. like
You mean everything? I mean, that's what we did most of the terrain in for the
yeah.
Muster.
But then like, imagine using that shit for like high level like award winning painting type stuff. It's like, yeah, no, it's possible. Like it's not optimal, but it can be done. But
Well, I
yeah.
think I like it when artists do stuff like that because it really helps dispel the myth on like you can just spend money to get results, and like that. I think that disillusions a lot of people when they get into the hobby
Right,
because
or like
they
it makes them feel like they have to spend this money to be able to like it
yeah
removes a barrier of entry.
yeah, I think it does a couple of negative things to your mindset whenever you're trying to, you know, when you're trying to do a good job. And like, no, it really is just having the right mindset, practicing your skills, and going and getting out of your comfort zone to learn how to do the things that you want to do. Like you're never going to get. No one got their first box of models and started painting as good as what was on the box. Like
Mm-hmm.
it takes effort.
I bought my Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring starter set when I was like in middle school and was like viscerally angry that my shit wasn't already painted when I opened the box. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
That's actually one of the reasons why I didn't get into Warhammer earlier. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm spending that much money on shit I've got to put together myself. But then one of my fraternity brothers and a couple of our close friends, they were into it and they browbeat me into it, and I was like, fine, I'll do it. I got into it. Now none of those motherfuckers play, and I can kit out 15 tables of terrain for a tournament, and you've seen my storage unit.
I have indeed. I have seen the mythical storage unit, the the troll hole, uh, troll hole horde.
Yep, something like that.
I mean, I'm glad we found enough to get you started with Titanicus. I mean, what did you have? Like 6 Reavers?
Five, yeah, six.
I mean,
Six
that's
Reavers,
enough.
That's a
That's
lot of
enough for a
reavers.
full Corsair maniple. It's fine.
two
And then some.
Warlords, was it six Warhounds, four, I think four Lancers,
I think it was like
um,
4 pairs of Lancers. Like I think it was like 4
uh,
sets of Lancers that you had from somewhere.
maybe, I'll need to check that. And then, I don't know, probably about six or so Baby Knights. And then two Porphyrons.
Two Death Turtles, Murder Turtles,
I do like that name.
Yertle the Myrtle Turtle.
Yeah,
God damn it.
I'm gonna start building those up. That's my next hobby goal is to get a working maniple. I've even got the I've got the books up on my computer now. I've been trying to look and see which Legio I want to go with.
Well, don't play a strawman.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. Astraman was not on the list. Let me see. I might be able to
Oh
tell you
God.
real quick which one I was looking at.
But while
Satanic
Ben's
Heads.
while Ben's pulling that up, Jonas Whedon does do commission work. He will paint a nutty banner for you if you really if you're really feeling it. He does all kinds of different banners: fantasy, Space Marines, Chaos, Titan, like any old thing you want. Looks like he customizes Magic cards too. So he's a cool dude. Does really great art. And if you want to commission from him for a super cool banner for your army, we'll link his page down in the show notes so you guys can check it out. I mean, if nothing else, just get inspired by it because it's all like super metal as fuck.
I dig that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was looking at Legio Metallica, of course,
Nice.
and oh gosh, I'm scrolling down the Loyalist book. I was maybe looking at Legio Honorum. I don't know. I kind of like that red scheme, and then there was one other one, and that was Legio Ossidax.
Oh yeah, those guys are pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
just like the color
the
scheme.
is it the
Cockatrices.
yeah, and then the Honorum is Deathbolts 1, right?
I actually didn't look. I just like that
Yeah, I think a Norm is one.
that white and like or that dark teal just looks. I mean, it looks nice. And then they have the red helmets. Like I just it looks nice.
I mean, it's the super cool classic Ultramarines color palette on something cooler than Ultramarines.
Yeah, yeah. The worst part about Ultramarines was the fact that they were Ultramarines. Although I've actually taken my stance on them have cooled greatly over the years, especially once I did more reading. I'm like, oh, okay, Gilliman's not just a a punk all the time. Sometimes though,
Just
he
most of
really
the
is.
time.
Yeah, man. No Fear really made me appreciate Ultramarines for the first time.
That's
I
what I hear from
actually
a lot
don't
of
know that I
people.
read that one, but I did listen to the I listened to the Gilliman Primarch series audiobook, and I actually really liked how they portrayed him. It was a really big conflict with the orcs. I like the way that they were represented there. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can give him that. And then I actually liked him in the Rise of the Primarch series because he just woke up and he was just really pissed off that everything was absolutely not the way that the Emperor had intended it to be, and he was mad at everyone for being a prick. He's like, "Fuck y'all, I'm taking over now."
Oh
Like
yeah, that was in with the Gathering Storm books, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
ones right
It
before
was the
they.
Gathering Storm trilogy, but the Rise of the Primarch was the third one.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like he woke up and was like
I think it was the
all
third one.
all the people that will comment on a YouTube video with a clickbait title without actually watching the video. And like this is not like did you read the book that I left for you? Like what the fuck is this shit? Like did you read the Codex Astartes at all? Like
Like, why are you people like worshiping my father as a god when he told you specifically that he was not, and do not do this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the what Emperor?
Yeah, then the way that he just kind of dicked over the High Lords of Terror is like, okay, you guys have been here too long. Absolutely fuck off.
absolutely fuck off.
Yep.
Well, so good stuff. Do we want to now return to the
Hold on, I
muster?
got a miss of the week real quick.
Oh,
Okay.
please, by all means.
I'll make it quick, but my miss of the week, dramatic tension, is John French in general.
Oh no.
So I've read at this point I've read two books that he has written. Praetorian of Dorn and Slave to Darkness. Spoilers for both of those books coming up if you haven't read them. I do
Spoiler
recommend
alert.
reading them. They are good books. He's not a bad writer. However, he cannot help himself from explaining exactly what he wrote. Like, you know that writing trope that says show don't tell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So he'll basically he'll do both pretty much.
He will
Like
show you, but then just in case you didn't get it, he'll also tell you about it.
It's like
here comes
explaining
Peter
the
Griffin
punchline.
explains the joke. Yeah. So because Praetorian and Dorn, right? We all again, spoilers, but at the end of that, Dorn kills Alfarius, which on the face of things can give a lot of, well, did he really? And, maybe he didn't. There's things to indicate that he could have. There's things to indicate that, he knows when, he can actually tell his brother from regular Marines when they're, armored, and but maybe that was a lie because there's other instances where that might not be true.
Well, and also it's
But then
Alfarius. He could also just always just be alive because it's him, right?
yeah, and
And
they can
then
just be like, well, that was just another guy because there's already been, in that book, Alfarius was just another dude the whole time, and we didn't find out till near the end. But then he goes into like the epilogue or whatever is, third person omniscient of Omegon by himself. So, it's not like he's has motive to lie to anyone. It's just like, I suddenly feel as if I am alone in the universe and that my brother is dead. It's like in before fan theories.
right.
And then Slaves to Darkness, has that whole theme of being slaves to darkness. And then he puts in the epilogue, like 3 or 4 pages of, well, you see, what does it mean to be a slave to darkness? Let me tell you exactly the implications that it has and why, things happen the way they did when literally every single character's storyline is basically revolves around what it means to be slaves to darkness, right? You got Zardu Layak, who doesn't know who he is anymore. He's got Lorgar, who tries to assassinate Horus and take command himself. You've got, everything with Perturabo. It shows the World Eaters and kind of how they are after, falling to Khorne. It has the origination of the Obliterator virus and what that means for the guy that it just kind of takes.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. Like, if you didn't get the theme from reading that book, then you are too illiterate to read the epilogue explaining it. And it's a real shame because, like I said, they were good books. He's not a bad writer. He just can't help himself but make sure that you understand exactly what he means without any ambiguity.
I mean, we got some
Rant
dumb
over.
people in this hobby. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are going to be once you read the Solar War and Mortis, because I don't know that I particularly got that impression. But then also, there's a lot of third person omniscient, points of view from the characters, and Mortis specifically. I don't really remember Solar War super well as far as more, Imperial Fist doing Imperial Fist things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get there. I'll let you know once I do.
So
I just had to get that one off my chest. It's been brewing for the last week since I finished Slaves to Darkness.
John French,
Well.
fix yo shit.
Let us come to our own goddamn conclusion.
I mean, basically.
This ain't math class, motherfucker.
Here's the answer, and I'm gonna show you my work in the epilogue. Like, god damn it, John,
God.
just leave it alone.
God, you're an author. This doesn't have to be in Common Core. Come on, bro.
Oh man. So, returning back to on the last episode of Argel Talk and the Williamsburg Muster arc, we were discussing our games throughout the day. I think we left off with game 3, and when I say left off, I think we mean that I
Brought
Plunged
to
into
a
the
halt.
abyss.
fucked up the recording. For the people at home, for some reason my recordings were going to my solid state drive and not my 3 terabyte fucking hard drive, so it wasn't a problem until it became a very real problem.
Yep, but it's all right. We're never salty to have the opportunity to talk to one of the people I like, and also Eric. So I mean,
I'm surprised I was the person that
The
you chose
feeling
out of
is
that.
mutual.
I know actually. So you know, fun fact: the other day and today, in fact, when we started putting or Eric started putting everything on Spotify, which is it's my primary music streaming service.
By the
But
way,
I
for
hadn't
all the
really.
listeners, we're on Spotify now.
But yeah,
They
we're on
see.
Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast, we're on Podcast Addict. There's probably more things we
Apple
can send it
Podcasts,
to.
Stitcher, and anywhere else you can find an RSS feed.
Yeah.
You can you can download us in real player format if you're if you need to if your Windows machine is still from '98, we can
Singular
do that.
JPEGs available on request.
Yep, yep. We have some very tasteful graphic interchange formats that we can send you.
Also be kicking off our NFT project here shortly.
Non-fuckable tards.
Yeah, exactly.
So
We've
anyways,
kicked that off a while ago.
also valid. So I actually started listening to our podcast, and so I started it while I was at work, and
Why
like
would
I
you
don't
do
listen
that?
to my shit like super loud, but it's loud enough. And like the people that sit around me can usually hear my stuff, and my boss is walking around and pretty regularly comes up to talk to me about stuff. And so normally I don't usually play like really graphic stuff, but just this one day I start up the podcast, and like our cold open is about the Sabaton concert, and all of a sudden over my speakers you just hear me say, "That old fucking cunt."
Some 50-year-old cunt.
Yeah,
Super
I'm not gonna
loud.
lie. There was a couple boxes I had to check that was like, does this contain explicit content? I'm like, I don't know, man.
I don't know if that's considered explicit,
Yeah, I don't
but
know. So I said no. So we'll see.
okay, well, someone's got to listen to it at some point. But yeah, that's. But we're on Spotify now, and we're way more available now than we have been.
Really
But
branching out.
yeah, but then also one of the
We're trying to
I
be
want to say it was
accessible anywhere that's free.
I want to say it was that same episode where yeah, it was because we were talking about the trip to Maryland, and like I was like, is that where our animosity towards one another stemmed from? Like, did
You didn't
something
respond to
happen?
Eric's advances.
Exactly. Why don't you love me, Ben?
I don't know. What'd you do? You didn't respond to my advances. We're
Yeah.
working on our Eric impressions.
I mean, those are pretty good. It's like I'm in the room with myself.
Wow, it's high praise.
I've started growing out my beard more. I'm never gonna be I'm never gonna have the stature of Eric. That time has passed.
There's a lot of things that could mean that could mean, and I choose to interpret them positively.
As you probably should.
I mean, I don't tower over you, but I am a good deal taller. So I'm not willing to give up my shin bones. I'm not willing to become Cotton Hill for you.
Fair enough.
So, anywho, continue. We did get knocked off before we got to talk about Game 3 of the muster. So, in no particular order, Eric, why don't you tell us about your third game and who you went up against, highlights, lowlights, stuff like that.
Well, do we want to make mention of what the scenario was for Game 3?
Oh yeah, God, do I keep forgetting about that shit?
Forgot
'Cause
that
I
you
gotta
forgot
find it.
about it.
Yeah, I did forgot. I forgot last time. I forgot this time because we already did this.
We've been here already.
I've got to
You,
find
you
the
guys ever
family.
get deja vu, feeling like you've been somewhere before?
Oh, bet. Oh, bet. Is that? Oh,
Although,
that.
in this case, I don't know if it's deja vu or PTSD.
I guess
Little
it's deja
column
vu.
A, little column B.
Oh, do it right
Mission 3, Battle for Eternity.
now.
Attacker will be determined by which faction has the most points by the point of this event, which were, Ben.
Which was it was chaos at this point in the evening.
Okay. Defender sets up first in the deployment side of their choice and then places their entire force, including any fortifications they possess, except for any units held in reserve, into their deployment zone. Player who is deploying second then deploys their entire force, blah, 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 same thing. Rules for deploying infiltrators and scouts are found in the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness rulebook. Defending player has the first turn unless their opponent can seize the initiative. Then we've got the traitorous forces and their malign allies are slowly succeeding in their plans to bring warp-spawned terrors into this reality. The battlefield surges with unnatural energies as the conflict comes to a new climax. The warriors of both sides know this is the end and fight with renewed otherworldly zeal. Primary objectives are death toll. At the end of the game, each side gains 1 victory point for each unit they have destroyed or that is falling back, dedicated transports included. Slay the enemy warlord before yours falls for +2 additional VP. Slay the enemy warlord after your warlord falls, +1 additional VP. If your army has multiple warlords, choose one to be your primary and to fit this requirement. Fuck you, Eric. If both warlords live at the end of the game, no points can be scored, even secondary objectives or external sources such as army rules, rights of war, etc. Game length is 5 turns. No special rules may modify this. Secondary mission: first strike, last man standing, price of failure. Mission special rules: the desperation of battle. All infantry gain fearless. If a unit already has fearless, it also gains adamantium will. The strands of unreality. Starting on turn 5, any invulnerable saves cease to exist. The winds of the warp. Psychers gain +2 power dice in their psychic phase and roll with a +1 on the perils of the warp chart. And then this was short edged deployments. Short table edge, Dawn of War deployment, whatever that's called. I don't know.
Hammer and anvil.
Hammer and anvil deployment. There we go. Further.
Yep. Yeah. So the keeping up with the narrative that I've tried to loosely stay on top of for the last couple of events. You know, I have my own sector that I focus all of the battles on. You know, the last couple of events have been very much like the start and the escalation of battles in this particular sector. And this time, I wanted to really kind of put the I don't know I'll call it the introduction of that sector. I wanted to put that to an end. So like this is now like the tipping point. Like what happens here was going to drastically affect my next event, whether it be Historicon in the summer or in Call to Arms in the fall. I really wanted this to matter more, so I started like leaning into the whole warp fuckery, like we've kind of talked about before. So you know, I don't typically see a lot of psychic players. You know, and it just so happened that no one played Thousand Suns at this particular event, so I could have seen that been really good for one of them. But there were a few psychers that were interspersed amongst the armies, but I don't know that that rule particularly mattered much. But I wanted this to I wanted to give the troops a little bit more incentive to stay out fighting. I really wanted warlords to be out on the field and causing damage, meeting in the middle. This was all about death and destruction and just in the game, in the day with as much bloodshed as possible.
Yeah, so I think so. Before I get started, I think we had mentioned this before. Kind of where do you get like the complexity of the scenario? Should it be the last game? I think in this case, like I think it was the right call. Like having the if you were to have the mystery rag after this, it wouldn't have felt like as climactic. Even if people are tired, it's like
Yeah.
you gotta do the thing that makes sense for your story. I think suffer for your art if you must, but
No, I'd agree. Like I was not disappointed in the mechanics of this particular mission. I will agree with Jake's previous issue, and that Hammer and Anvil as the third event of the day, especially with our table setups, by necessity, they had to be edge to edge a lot of times. So there's a lot more leaning over and bending involved, and we're all old now. So, and poor Ed nearly died during game 3. So, um, I would change that to probably just Dawn of War deployment.
yeah, I would agree on that. It doesn't help that the table that Ed was playing on was made of the same wood as that dock.
Oh gosh,
So-
you're not wrong.
Game table, son of Doc. God damn
Yeah,
it.
so for this one, just a quick recap. I was playing Swiftblade Night Lords, lots of bikes. I was playing against Evan, who had his Raven Guard. I think he was actually playing like Recon Company or something
I want to
as
say that
his.
you're right.
Yeah, which I thought was really neat because we've talked about those guys before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I failed the roll off to go first, and I actually elected not to attempt to seize the initiative. My reasoning behind this was we both had fire raptors, and I didn't want like mine to come on turn 2, have nothing to do, and his come on after and shoot the shit out of it. That really didn't end up mattering because our fire raptors actually never touched, so it wasn't gay. But I did manage to straight up murk Kaya D's nuts turn 1 because he just the Mortat Prime, he just infiltrated him, right up there. Got to shoot with him once at my Praetor, and who I had chosen as my primary warlord, being that I had the only army in the entire game that can have multiple warlords at a time, um, and just killed him. And that was basically the only thing that I did because then I immediately got ass blasted by infiltrating and outflanking plasma. More Dathan came on. They had combi flamers that they turned on the rending for. Um, I was taking a bunch of morale checks because, again, all bikes. Um, my Atromentar did manage to, soften some things up. I got rid of a bunch of his rapier pieces with them. So, all those laser destroyers were no longer as big of a deal. He kept his warlord kind of counter to, I wouldn't say counter to the mission. He played it smart. He knew that I was in the open. So he was going to get that kill, and he kept his warlord in a Land Raider that I'm not entirely convinced wasn't just glued to the table the way he didn't move it. I did get to Thunder Blitz for the first time I have ever Thunder Blitzed. Didn't really do anything, but it was cool to be able to do. And that also was when I've realized that my Cerberus is the single most resilient unit that I have in any army. I think that's like 5 or 6 games that I've played with it, and it has never died, including this time. It did get down to 1 hull point, but it didn't die. I did some dumb shit with my Fire Raptor, just hovering it, trying to hose some things down. I knew it wasn't gonna, matter all that much, but it at least made him multi-charge the Fire Raptor and the Cerberus, and that's probably why it didn't die. But I did some cool things. I did some funny things. I did get to kill Moritat, which is always a good time. Uh,
Mhm.
Sweep some artillery pieces, which is always an even better time because you're hot shit with your toughness 7 multi wounds until someone's within chain glaive range. And yeah, it was a enjoyable. I had fun. I did kind of get a little bit stomped, but it was a good game. I enjoyed myself very much.
So, oh, of course, because I don't remember his name now. So I played a fella for game 3 of the muster. And it was that we played a long way on the table, so we were deploying for the short ends, and it was an annihilation game, just kill each other off. Um, he was running a list of very similar to mine. It was an armored mechanic or armored militia list, but he had an allied mechanicum detachment.
Oh, Jason, you had Jason.
Jason, yes, Jason, and Jason's list was super nasty. My dice kind of had advantaged me by that point of the day, anyways. But the triple Land Raiders with 3 twin link las cannons was super tough nut to crack. And then he had an Arlatax in his list, and that Arlatax ate like 5 Lehman Russes over the course of the game. Like the way the terrain was, he was just able to move up the side of the table and kind of unmolested, and then charge into squads of Lehman Russes over and over again. Also out of that Mechanicum, I would say that like his militia part of his list was decent and tanky, and it took a lot of hits, and it took him, gave him out. But the Mechanicum side of his list really was the big shiny bit, the MVP of the match there, because he had a Macro Carrot Explorator that then proceeded to use some kind of torrenting radiation flamer to wipe out every single model I had on foot in like 2 rounds of shooting, I think.
Oh yeah, the radiation engines.
Yeah, with torrent. Yeah, so you just couldn't get away from them. There was no cover from it. You just got destroyed. So kind of a blowout. Fun game, but definitely a blowout. It was extremely difficult. There wasn't a whole lot visible because everything was inside Land Raiders for me to get kill points on, because you had to kill the thing and dedicated transport and the unit. So what I understood point. So it was very, very tough to get kind of fire back and get points, because he's castled up in those Land Raiders and then moving a big old tank destroying death bot sideways across the field. But good match, and gave me some ideas in the future of things I may wish to do. It definitely reaffirms my overall opinion that Mechanicum is very hard not to play in a way that's super busted, like, because all their options are just good. There's no bad side to any Mechanicum units.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the way that match went. Yeah. With this I will say there was some like servo skull unit there attached to one of his units that I wiped with my knight, and then that servo skull refused to die. So it kind of, because it was in there, you just kind of, I didn't get any points for that unit because the servo skull was just hard to hit. Ridiculous cover save if he's in any sort of terrain. So he whatever he was attached to died. It popped off and then hid somewhere. It's kind of the way that fight went. But yeah, overall interesting game. I'd play him again. I probably wouldn't play him with my militia again, but I'd play him again. I would definitely. His army would be a great test bed to run my Sunkillers against.
Oh yeah, you say good night to Arlatax or anything, and with those or
Yeah.
Land Raiders.
Exactly. Macro carroted Land Raiders. Let all that go away. Bring a 20-man squad of these guys and just sit them in the middle of my back line of the field on some elevation, and put hot holes and everything. One right after the other. At 20 guys, I can afford to take some hits. Yeah, so overall, that was kind of the finish out for my experience at the Muster this year. I had a pretty good time. I definitely played some wickedly hard players, and I got some ideas out of it of things I may do in the future here.
Very good. Very good. How about you,
Yeah.
Jake?
So I ended up playing Chris in this mission, which was a pretty fun game, all things considered. We ended up not scoring any points for either of our teams because both of our warlords were fucking alive by the end of it. Um, which was absolutely a tactical misplay on my part, and just his inability to get clear line of sight on Ralderon on his part. Ralderon was hiding behind a Fortress of Redemption or whatever the fuck that thing is, that terrain piece. So he and his flamer unit jumped out, scorched a unit of militia, and then just hid behind the Fortress of Redemption the rest of the time. um, but yeah, it was a good game. I don't know that it was an effective use of my more static elements. The Scorpius and the Contemptor, Mortis Contemptor with Carrie's cannons didn't really have range on very much. He outflanked some autocannon sentinels and blew up my Scorpius with it, which I was like, yep, super respect for that fucking based move, fucking autocannon sentinels.
I can't be mad at someone for that sort of move.
No,
First of all, autocannon sentinels, just in general.
it's pretty fucking based, if I'm honest.
Pretty
Um,
bonkers.
just traded some fire back and forth. I had some some charge rolls not really go my way the end of the game, and that kind of brought things to somewhat of a stalemate. But I mean, I guess neither of us contributing points to our sides was about as stalemate as you can get, and so I'm okay with that. But yeah, it was a fun game. Chris is a great guy. I love playing with him, and I'm sorry that he had to go and die for like 40 minutes during our game. Poor man. His intestines just are not in great spot.
I mean, physically they're in the correct spot, but they're not just. They're, in general, they're just not good.
Figuratively, they're in a not a great spot. But no, it was a fun game. I've bitched to Ben about making the third game fucking hammer and anvil deployment. Like, Ben, we're old and fat. Stop making us lean over the table at the end of the day.
Man, it didn't even like come into my head. Like, there's some deployment maps that I do not like, and I don't want to force people to play on them because I feel like I am not the only one with a particular feeling about those deployment maps. So
Ambush.
I tend to stick.
You can say ambush. It's okay.
Ambush is also fucking terrible. But also the ones that where you have to like take an extra 5 minutes to measure your shit out. Like I tried that not to do that for the last game of the day either. So yeah, but your point is valid. Like yeah, no, I don't know that my back would have been happy with me either. So um, but the thing that I did not think was going to be as prevalent as it was that damn like but the warlord rule, like if both warlords were still alive, like you don't score points. I use that as an incentive, like okay, like I've really got to take out my opponent's warlord, like that has to be like primary objective here, and you get extra points for doing it before they kill yours.
So Chris
But
and I instead decided to completely disregard that and just play hide the pickle the whole time.
yeah, so, and like, you're not the only ones. I was expecting a couple. There were more than a couple, but at the same time, everyone else's uh everyone else's points were astronomical. Like compare like the other missions, like you could get, 6, maybe 10 points, but there were people coming up like yeah, I got 24 points. Like god damn, all right. So So the scoring up into this up to after round 2 had the traders like royally stomping ass. Like it was not close at all. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I will hazard a guess and be like it was like 65 to 3 or something. No, not 3. I'm sorry. 65 to like 30. Like it was very one-sided, and so I kind of expected that to to continue into game 3. So like while game 3 is going on, like I'm sitting there working out the narrative bit that I was going to go over at the end, with the assumption that that was going to be, how it ended with, chaos winning. And so I wrote out this big, paragraph, or a page to read at the end. And then, games started wrapping up. Like Jesse and Andrew finished their game quick, like way quicker than I was expecting. Like it was, he just nothing that with the mission. Just it was the matchup was just horrendous, and I like you wouldn't have guessed it looking at the armies. So I don't think it was just necessarily a bad matchup, but just like Jesse's dice ruined that boy. Like I think the game was over in maybe an hour.
I think Andrew did not do well that day. I think his mostly infantry salamanders list was
No, different Andrew, the other Andrew, the one playing Sons of Horus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
didn't mean to speak for you, Andrew. I hope you put it in your opponent game 3.
I don't remember now, but no, he had some units in termites, and had some Justarin, and I think everything just kind of ended up in the middle, and I think Jesse's stuff also went into the middle, and I think every one of Jesse's units just clapped whatever unit it got in combat with, and so I think it was a blowout. But then as I start getting the score sheets and I start writing down, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, what is going on here? And like it just started, like that gap started getting less and less and less. I was like, God damn it, I just spent so much time writing this shit out. I'm gonna have to fake some shit to get it, like because it looked like the loyalists were going to end up winning. So it went from like a 30 point deficit to the final score being like 110 to 108, something like that for the it was still for
Yeah.
the traders win, but man, like it was so close. Like if one other table had come back with because I think there were like 4 or 5 tables that both of the warlords ended up living. Like I was really astounded that like this match where I was like fully expecting everyone to just go for broke and murder everything, just that many tables could not achieve that was kind of funny. But you know the intention of the mission, I think, went off without much of a hitch, and got to utilize the narrative that I wrote out, so that was great, and that's gonna really impact what I do for the next event. So I will a lot of it's going to depend on how the edition possibly changes and when we get those rules. So I'm not really doing any work on it now, but I fully intend on leaning a lot harder into the whole chaos incursion sort of deal.
Well, and you'll
Oh
get
yeah.
Nova as a test run for that stuff as well.
Oh yeah, definitely will. So that's kind of where I am with it. In terms of things that I think I would do differently, I think the biggest thing is for the next event, I think I am going to ask that players send me lists ahead of time. I think that devoting the extra bit of effort there will help smooth things out on my end from the from just for planning. And I think that I'm going to just remove all super heavies. Um, of course, again, things could change depending on the edition changes, but I think that removing those and requiring the lists will help do the pairings a lot easier, because the point structure in the game is not necessarily indicative of skill level, because there's some what the fuckery that gets thrown in there just to make things kind of interesting and fun. So just going by pure points values doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to take a more hands-on approach with the pairings to try to get good relatively even matchups. Try to match up people that don't necessarily get to play that often. It's not a perfect system, and I don't always get to do what I want, but for the most part, seemed to work pretty okay. Um, but I think that having those tools ahead of time will help me to do that a little bit more.
Right, and like
Uh,
like you've talked about before with the super heavies, it's a hard balance you got to strike between letting people bring their cool, fun toys to a big event, but then also catering to a newer group that might not have those kinds of things or access to something to deal with them,
yeah.
or people that just maybe they don't get games in very often. Like I think a good percentage of people at that event, that was the first Heresy they were playing in years.
Uh,
Yeah,
some
that
of them,
is
yes.
definitely the impression that I got was
Oh yeah.
uh was that yeah.
Which
Like literal years since the last Heresy game they played, and maybe they don't remember how to deal with a Falchion or a Macarius Omega with shredding plasma. Like maybe,
yeah. I agree. No, and I think that this was a good forum for a reintroduction to the games and to events in general. I thought I overall I was very pleased with the event and how it was supported. Um, you know, not only by the ODMS crew that runs the convention, but by the local community here, their willingness to chip in and help get materials. Certainly the terrain built and painted. Donating their time and sometimes their terrain in order to help run the like all of that was fantastic. The the feedback that I've gotten from everybody, like no one said that they did not have a good time. Everyone said that they had a blast. Like, there was only two little issues that popped up with interpersonal issues that popped up during the day that were taken care of pretty quick and easy. Um, you know, but overall, there's not a lot mechanically that I think that I would have really changed. I always want to get more feedback, and like I think next time uh, maybe having someone else partner with me to be purely admin would be helpful. It's tough because when you're running the event, you've got to prepare for the possibility that you have an uneven number of players, and I really hate the idea of a bye at an event like this. Um, so one year had Ledoux and Richard helping me, and we had an odd number, so each one of us dropped a round, and we were the three of us basically played the ringer for that round, and it worked out fine. This year, Richard wasn't there. Mike was just a full-time player, and I was the full-time admin. So if the opportunity arises that could get another person, doesn't even necessarily have to be a player, because I know that there are some people that would have enjoyed just being there, and they didn't have an intention of playing. Then that would probably be good. But I mean, if if not, then no biggie. But like, it would have been really difficult for me to be the ringer and play and be the admin. That just it takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot more time and effort.
Definitely.
I might even look at. I know that there's some app-based scoring solutions out there. Um, I don't know what. I haven't really done any looking into any of them. But maybe utilizing that to help with some of the paperwork that goes into it, so I don't have to do the math manually and keep
Yeah.
track of that. That could be useful. Um, but otherwise, I don't know if there was anything else that was a major concern.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I had a great time, and I'm
Oh yeah,
happy
no.
to help you out in the future as far as organizing, review, um, admin on the day. Like I'm certainly like, I'm definitely a person that like I like playing and I love the game, but like I don't if I was say like a ringer or like a buy, like if I didn't get the chance to play, I don't know that I'd be like overly upset by it. So like
Yeah, same. I mean, anything but banning terrain, really.
Well, the terrain was a huge deal this year because um, I did not have access to some of the resources that we have in years past, and then on top of that, just a lot more players were looking to show up. And for every two players is a whole other table, and that's not an insignificant uh, investment of money or storage. Like that's a fair amount for both. So
mhm,
you know the couple of months preceding the event where we were all hands on deck trying to work on stuff was massive, and that's work we don't have to do next time.
mhm,
um, I do over the summer want to, get us together to do more, just so that we can keep upping the value of the look of what we've got. Like there, I mean, we got a lot of stuff at a pretty okay tabletop level, but it's heresy. It would be great to bump up those production values more and more, and have get rid of some of the terrain that maybe is not quite as it's
yeah.
functional, but maybe doesn't look quite as good.
Swap
Start
some of the like foam core stuff out for like more and more like plastic or 3D printed stuff. Yeah.
some of it, yeah, yeah, or hell, even some of the 3D printed stuff, may not have come out as good as we wanted, or didn't paint as well as we wanted. Um, so it's a constant effort, but it's not like it. I didn't find it to be that huge of a chore, really, because when we were all hanging out, like we made a day of it. Like none of us were like bored. Like
Yeah.
it was fun doing it. So I don't see a reason why people would not want to do that. And of course, a lot of us have our own tables and our own terrain. So I'm not saying, hey, everyone come together and let's paint my shit. Let's bring your stuff. Let's all work on your stuff too. And
Mhm.
you know many hands make less work. So um, but yeah, no, that was huge. I really liked that aspect of it. There's going to be some new opportunities within the not only the local but some of the larger events going on to really you know practice and expand on the future possibilities on running more or being more involved with some events. So there's a lot of good prospects there that I'm really looking forward to. But
Mhm.
there was very little that I was disappointed with this particular event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
we're looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy.
Well,
Also,
oh,
I
go
hate
ahead.
I hate small proxies.
True. Speaking of, yeah, I don't think we kind of skipped over Grey. Grey, how did your game go? Yeah, man, it'd be like that sometimes.
They do in fact be like that sometimes.
Damn it. But I think it's gonna about do us for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you have feedback for us, for if you attended the muster and you have thoughts, please feel free to share them with us. If you have stories that you think would be worth retelling, definitely let us know. Um, as far as advice for any other TOs out there or people that attend events and things that you like to see and that you don't like to see, let us know those as well. Like what would be in a perfect event for you. um and then just either drop a comment or send us an email at argeltalk podcast, ARGELTALK podcast at gmail.com. Let us know if there's a photo you want to share with us, if there's a list you want us to workshop, if you want to ask us a question and hear us, flap our lips about a particular topic, let us know. Well, let's do a question for the next episode. Maybe ask a question to the community and get their responses to it, and we can discuss the responses in the next episode. I don't know anything off the top of my head. Does anybody have a question we could ask the listeners?
Oh yeah, here. This is one that we were talking about, like asking in our own between ourselves, but I think this would be a good listener um, question. Whether or not, if you are a legionary of whatever legion, your choice, you have dishonored your Primarch in whatever manner, it's up to you. Uh, would you take death as your sentence, or if you were offered penance to be put in a dreadnought, what legion would that be worse to be in, and which would be best? What would you pick in any of those cases?
I'm gonna take the
Well,
Chad.
we're gonna
response.
we're gonna talk about the responses next time. You have the next until the
Yeah,
next
no,
time.
my response is neither of those. I think that they should dye all of their hair bright orange, take off their armor, and we should go back to like dwarf slayer companies.
Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah,
let
because
us.
fuck dwarves, I want to slay them all. I mean, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
So let us know that, guys, and yours truly will be going to Adepticon this weekend coming up. So I'll come back with all the juicy tidbits from that. I'll hang out the Heresy Hall and take some photos and talk about it. I'm not going to be playing in anything. I'm just going to be taking painting classes, but I'll be there to hang out, and hopefully we'll see that dank Heresy reveal. So maybe I can give my thoughts on that on the next one.
No, definitely. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
See.
Grey, any last words?
I say, yeah, it's pretty fucking lit. It's litty titty, dude.
Cool.
Great. Well
You're
said.
right. That is all that we crave.
See you guys next time.